Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Um, it's a little over 8:30, 8:40 this morning. Taking out Banjo a little late. How y'all doing? You're never gonna guess. A house is for sale. Y'all see the for sale sign? I'll show y'all. What you doing, Banjo? Anyway, good morning. Happy Friday. How y'all doing? Another nice day. Anyway, what's going on? I don't really have much topics to discuss. I don't have kind of a pre-planned topic of discussion. But I was like, I'm kind of in a good mood. Oh, I see there's a mailman. Anyway, I'm gonna show y'all that sign in a second. So I did look up, one thing I did look up this morning was restructuring the postal service. Apparently, I remember that happened in 2020. Can y'all see? There. It's on Warriors Creek. I think the front is on Warriors Creek. But the garage is over here on Swandale. It's a nice house. I hope they take care of it. I'm just, I'm always just a little wary of the situation going on in these parts. These parts being the specific NISD school bus route and just this Colonies neighborhood, and also to my old house on 10415 Ethan Allen. So they're moving. I guess things didn't work out. So I wanted to move to that house. You go down Swandale, you take a left, and you go on, not Goldsboro, Stephenwood. It's like if you're going from Callahan to Stonehaven, it's the first neighborhood to the left. You gotta pass that KIPP school. But I remember in 2021, I was like, I got money. Okay, great. I want to move into this house down this street, down Stephenwood. It's at the end of the corner. It's kind of on a hill, and I want to build a pool in it. And so, if you're moving, I guess there's a lot to look forward to with all of that. Maybe a hard time moving for whatever reason. I emphasize on this in this neighborhood, these parts. Banjo's checking it out. Super sniffer Banjo. Banjo, let's go. But anyway, I'm just a little worried about that, and I don't really see very much as far as like comments, societal dangers. I do see some things, and that's what forms my opinions. So anyway, I was looking up stuff about a restructuring of the postal service. Apparently, there's been a deficit, like a $6 million deficit. One second. Anyway, so there's been a postal service deficit, and one of the nice neighbors just passed me by, so waved. I didn't put it on camera. I would have, but I was yelling at my puppy to get out of the street, and I always try to keep that off the camera. Oh, Benjo. Anyway, so we got JD Vance 3 over here. And to state facts, after one of the nice neighbors I trust, passed by and I waved at her. She waved back. So that's what's been happening a lot. So I don't want to have to look at you. They don't know I'm very sensitive to that. So if you move in here, it's not a nice mailman. He stares into people's houses. So, just warning you about that. Used to have a good one, now we don't. So if you try to send me a letter, I wouldn't be surprised. In my opinion. Just guessing. Conjecture was the correct word for that. Not quite allegedly, but something else. Guessing. But anyway, yeah, I looked up the restructuring of the Postal Service. Apparently, there was talk about that in 2020, before November 2020. And apparently, was it 2024? In May 14th? Maybe before then. I think one of the representatives from, was it Wisconsin? Cynthia Loomis or something like that. She posted on her government website about, I know this is ridiculous, right? He's probably staring into their house. Still a funnier joke than who? Anyway, apparently they're like shutting down or downgrading where the state sorts and organizes the mail. And so I think the state of Wisconsin, her initials are CL. I didn't read the name really very well. I was just skimming. But apparently with this new Postal Service restructuring, they would shut down those facilities because they downgraded them. And then they would, that state would have to rely on the neighboring states for their mail. She mentioned like medications and communications and stuff like that. So she was against it. She was against the Postal Service restructuring. I'm not sure about 2020, but there's still talk of it now. I said that is so weird because in San Antonio alone, we are like one of the most populated cities in Texas, I think. We're a major city in Texas, I don't know that much. But anyway, we can just go into that creek. Anyway, so that is so weird because, first of all, it doesn't make sense. A $6 million deficit. I mean, you'd have to have at least one postal service distribution center in each state. I mean, it's a federal thing. So, and also, I see a lot of U.S. Postal distribution centers. I don't know if there's a difference between just places where you can deliver your mail Is that considered different than a distribution center? Because there are tons of places where you can drop your mail and it's like in a building. It's not just that little drop box, so to speak. There's one, it's past my grandfather's house. I forget which highway it is. I think maybe 35. 35 in Vance Jackson, does that sound right? Yeah, past where my grandfather lives in Storywood. Or it lived, obviously. Anyway, I don't know the exact highway, but it's Vance Jackson. If you're on Vance Jackson, you pass 410, you keep going down, and on the other side of the highway of that, it's like behind that Starbucks. There's a Starbucks, a restaurant, and then like a U.S. Postal Service center. It looks like a business place, and there's one by Ruby City, South San Antonio, downtown San Antonio. We're on the north side over here. And I think that one's officially at 1 because there's all these postal service trucks. So it just seems odd to me, especially because like not a lot of people use mail a lot. And the last time I researched the postal service, which I think was in the later part of 2020, they seemed really organized. I mean, obviously, right? They had their own reports. They were able to predict, forecasts, foresee potential problems and issues. So obviously I'm like, oh my gosh, $6 million. It might have been 6 million, it might have been 60. Now that I'm thinking about it. These days when you're working in the federal government, 6 million doesn't seem that much of reporting on, right? So it might have been 60 million, I'm not sure. But I looked at a couple articles about the Postal Service restructuring, and that's still going on apparently. And downsizing to where a state wouldn't have a distribution center. And I think that state is Wisconsin, but I could be mistaken. So, you know, maybe we can talk about restructuring the Fed. What do y'all think? So, I know there's gonna be a new. Is there gonna be a San Antonio Fed? I can't remember. I remember reading an article about it. But I just remember that was a big issue for me in 2021. I said, so I gotta do public service. So, all right, I'm gonna go after the Fed. Because to me, the Federal Reserve, it can kind of be like, well, I guess like anything, but kind of like akin to like, you know, police or FBI or, you know, so on and so forth. You know, where you got some bad apples. It's unsafe for the civilian population and unsafe for the co-workers, right? So you get into, you know, Federal Reserve, you got, I guess that holds true. So, what do you think about restructuring the Federal Reserve? They hire people who like, I think they're against it. I'm just guessing. Conjecture. It just seems really a lot of moving parts as far as like a bureaucracy. Everybody's like, oh, the government is so slow, it's got all this stuff. I said, well, I wonder what's bigger, the government or the Federal Reserve. So because you can look on their website, which they make available on Twitter. Whoever's doing their social media on Twitter, for the most part, sometimes they make YouTube videos. I'm like, I'm not gonna watch. But but for the most part, they do really good at like being open with their information. So here's a link. So that was a very helpful link. Thank you. So anyway, I'm gonna let my puppy in 1 second. So restructuring the Federal Reserve, I think wouldn't be such a bad thing to maybe, I don't know, talk about, look into, research. And I think it probably benefits everybody. I know 45 is a proponent of Bitcoin, and so if you strengthen the Federal Reserve, I don't understand how that wouldn't also strengthen Bitcoin, right? It just seems kind of like a capitalistic kind of situation. And again, to get the better product and the best product and service and stuff like that. And I also went, in 2021, I also focused on the Federal Reserve, was because like anything, not like anything, but like anything in, I guess, government and stuff like that, the 3 branches of government, you gotta go, where's the money? How's this getting funded? I mean, I don't remember in 2008, but I remember learning, I think probably after 2012, maybe before, about how, Obama was the first black president, but we can't emphasize that because of the housing crisis of 2008. And from what I'm gathering, like I said, I don't get to see everything. Comments and websites, I'm gonna go ahead and say that, in my opinion, I'm kept from not just my own comments and stuff like that, but from a lot of other stuff too. Because I try to Google stuff, and I said that's the best Google that I get. But anyway, Elon Musk gives free Starlink because he's such a nice guy. Anyway, so if you're not making money because customers are paying for your product, where's the profit? Just throwing that out there. Out of conjecture. So anyway, I forgot what I was saying, but yeah, you gotta go towards the money. That doesn't go through like all of society and community and stuff like that, but for I don't know, I think before 2020 people were like, oh, the military industrial complex, you have to say it, and people were giving pats on the back because they used those words. So what is this, kindergarten, middle school? Why are they getting pats on the back for that? So who are the ones who didn't say it? Anyway, I digress. So yeah, that's why in 2021 I went for the Federal Reserve. I said we having all these problems, we having all these deficits, and then now it's 2024. It's gotten a lot worse, right? So they want to blame Trump. So well, what was the economy like back then? I think that seems to be a really big issue these days. Uh, so I'm just saying, I see a little bit of parallels between Obama and Trump. You know, if you think that's funny, I guess you think that's funny. But the 2008 housing crisis, which is housing and banking and land, um, and then now just the economy in general, I guess more than just housing crisis, right? Um, so at the time that was happening, we were like, oh my gosh. I mean, not with Obama for me, because I wasn't really following politics in 2008. Um, but now I guess I just kind of want to emphasize kind of a tolerance, a numbness, an indifference to the situation. And I'm not saying necessarily from you. Uh, you know, it's probably uh, very frustrating, right, to the average Joe. Um, I guess I'm speaking specifically about indifference and numbness to the political class and whatever revolves moving parts around that political class, which is, again, upsetting. So, yeah, I guess, what do y'all think about restructuring the Federal Reserve? I think I saw on their website that they have all these people who make all these decisions, and they're like insurance agents and stuff like that. And I said, well, I guess that's not the worst place to look. I don't know. So anyway, let me know what y'all think. What are your thoughts? Happy Friday. I'll talk to y'all later. Hopefully my husband right next to me. I will not be at his rally tomorrow, unfortunately. Um, like I said, at a moment's notice. Okay? At a moment's notice. So anyway, y'all have a good weekend. Happy Friday. I'll talk to y'all later.